finally happened. Who knew this day would come? Well, we all knew. But it's time to say goodbye. It's time. We must say goodbye. Edition, it's got to be said, luckily, thank God. So now we're going into 10th edition. Woo! Okay, awesome, nice, excellent. Yes, it's the end of 9th edition.
The bang bus is coming and everybody's jumping. New York to San Francisco and intercity disco. The wheels of steel are turning and traffic lights are burning. So if you like to party, get on and move your body.
Yes, excellent. Okay, it's the end of 9th edition, everybody. It is indeed the end of 9th edition. We are into 10th edition officially. The 10th edition rules have been leaked in their entirety. And also the first tournament is playing with 10th edition for the first time. The first tournament using 10th edition next week. I think we can all safely say that it is the end of 9th edition entirely. I think we can all say that, right? I think we can say that. My voice is way too low. It can't be way too low. I'm turned all the way up. The music is over. The music is over. Am I too quiet? Oh, come on. I can't be too quiet. All right. Mic is fine. There we go. See, we're safe. We had to blast the tunes, guys. We had to blast the tunes. You only get one opportunity to do this. You only get one opportunity to do this. Yeah, 9th edition, guys. It's all over. It's all over. And as a result, the title is not clickbait. I am going away. It's over. It's over here too. For now, anyway. I'm going away to UKG next week. Got him! Got him again. Yes, 9th edition is over, and I'm traveling to the UK Games Expo to check out a whole boatload of new games, and I am super hyper excited, and we're going to talk about both of these things today, so stick around. Stick around! The Great Wordling says, title is totally clickbait. Here is a fun fact about clickbait. The moment that I do anything where I'm critical of Games Workshop in a title, I get accusations everywhere that it is clickbait. If I am not critical of Games Workshop in a title, I get very rare accusations of clickbait. It's very interesting to me. Sometimes I feel like they are politically motivated attacks. Sometimes. I wear glasses. You've seen me on other videos. For the love of God, I really hope that this is not the first video. If you're watching right now, this is the first time you've ever met me. Hello, my name is Discourse. But also, terrible stream to be joining in on. But I usually wear glasses. These are not like special glasses that allow me to like glass combo thing. This is not like a combo gun, right? This is just sunglasses. This is just a melta. Okay, I can't see. Yes, so 9th edition is over. And I am super duper happy about that. I've been playing a bunch of 9th edition recently. Over the last month, I've been playing a ton of 9th edition Warhammer 40k, kind of as a send-off to it, right? The new edition is coming out in a couple of weeks now. And so I've been trying to get as many games in of 9th edition as possible to sort of cement in my mind a memory of 9th edition. And it hasn't been the funnest experience. It hasn't been the funnest experience ever. It hasn't been, you know? The Animeister says, everyone knows GW bring the views. No one is going to be leaving GW out of the topic for too long. No, I mean, like, everybody has to do... You can see there's plenty of channels that try to cover wargaming without covering Games Workshop, but it doesn't work. I think it's a fool's errand anyway. I feel like if you're gonna cover wargaming, you kind of have to cover Games Workshop. Games Workshop are the biggest company in wargaming, right? You can't talk about wargaming without talking about Games Workshop. This is like trying to talk about tabletop role-playing games without talking about Dungeons and Dragons. It's like trying to talk about different gaseous forms and not mentioning oxygen, right? It's the most important one. It's the most contextualized. It's really, really important, right? Not necessarily the best. That would be obviously helium, but it's still very important. It's still very important, right? Happy Sunday, Red. Happy Sunday. You blinked and you missed 9th edition, says Nibbletag. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are like, wait, what? There's a what on? They're trying to get on their house coat, you know? They're kind of one sock on, coming out of bed. There's a what? There's a 10th edition? There was a 9th? When was that? Oh, did that happen? There's a what? There's a what? It's over. Oh, 9th edition is over. Okay, good. Okay, never mind. Because it came out, like, right in the middle of the pandemic. Everyone was trapped in their homes. Games Workshop were like, whoa! New edition. And what happens? It gets bought up, sure, but like nobody really, it kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, you know? In terms of games, we've had like a year and a half less of games, I think, of the edition. To be frank, I feel like, so Games Workshop are on this rotation of every 3 years, there's a new edition of 40k, and I feel like that's far too short. Far too short. Now, I might have my little nostalgia goggles on. That's what these are. But how long was like 4th and 5th and 6th edition? I'm trying to remember now. Nibble says, I remember my first edition Rogue Trader. I should get around to playing it someday. I've got the book of Rogue Trader, but I haven't played it. Although I have played 5 Parsecs from Home, which is basically the same thing. Let's be honest. It's basically the same thing. You remember 5th edition dropping, says Eben. So do I. You're not old, because I'm not old. Honest. Can't be old. Cannot be old. There is no way I'm going to accept this argument that I'm old. You wear your sunglasses at night overboard. I only have these sunglasses. There's not enough sun in Ireland for me to actually have sunglasses to wear for the sun. I have this simply because of the channel. This is for a character. Namely my character. My Mr. James Workshop, the hype man. Really, if you think about it, Kickstarter paid influencers are just the used car salesmen of the modern era. If one thinks about it for long enough, it starts to make a whole lot of sense. So 9th edition, what did you guys think of it? Did you have a lot of fun? I'd be interested to hear your opinions. I've been playing a ton of it. I've been playing a ton of 9th edition. I'm a little Astra Militarum player. You can see a little half-painted guardsman. I'm a little Astra Militarum. I'm a little Imperial Guard player. And we didn't get our codex until late last year. So we were the last codex of the edition. So I've been playing a bunch of games as the Imperial Guard. And boy, there's a lot of stuff going on in that single codex. Warhammer's a very fascinating game, you know. It's taken so many iterations. And it really has changed since the early days. You never played it, James. You're not alone, right? Almost everybody I've spoken to has not played it. Most content creators who make content around Warhammer 40k, you'll be shocked to know, have never played a single game of it. You would be, well, maybe not that shocked, I don't think. I don't know how shocked people would be to know that. But most content creators I speak to who create Warhammer-based content, they have never played a game of it. Which is really interesting to me. It's really fascinating to me. For example, I mean, I'll talk about the ones who publicly have said this. Jay from Eons of Battle, famously, he said that he hasn't played a game of 9th edition. As well as Dana Hoyle hasn't played a game of 9th edition. which is really interesting, right? Like, it's the biggest war game, and yet people can't find ways to get it onto the table. Well, I have not. As one of the more critical people on the internet about Warhammer, I have played lots of it. I play it frequently. I play it a lot. I play multiple armies. I play guardsmen, Gene Stealer cultists, Dark Eldar. How about that? I played the best armies in the world. And now Space Marines. Famously having lost a bet. Dana Hoyle is cool. Noodles. Ninth doesn't feel fun, says Noodles. I think I can see where you're coming from on that. Yeah. There's a lot of synergies. To me, ninth edition feels like it reminds me of a MOBA online. It reminds me, the fun part of the game is learning about all the different interactions and learning about all the different synergies and your build and how you go about that. It's kind of got that kind of competitive MOBA atmosphere around it. There's loads of content online that you can devour and you can think about. But then whenever you actually go to play it, ultimately it's unsatisfying and leaves one a little hollow, I think. I've got part of the reason, by the way, I've been playing so much of Ninth as well for this month is that I am reviewing it. I'm reviewing it for my patrons as the patron bonus video. I'm going to be reviewing 9th edition Warhammer. So I've been playing it an absolute ton. I'm half blind, by the way. I'm kind of squinting my eyes to see chat. Nicholas Sabriani says, played 4 to 5 games, always 2v2, too much work to handle, too much rules for a standard war game. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of rules going on. For those who have not played Warhammer 40k 9th edition, let me explain how my Imperial Guard army works. I have little squads of guardsmen, and I have this guy. He is a commander, and he's got a big flag, big regimental flag, and that allows me to re-roll my shots to wound if I roll a 1, okay? So I'm rolling a big dice pool for everyone in a big bubble of 6 inches. So I can re-roll 1s to wound. And then I've also got a Cadian Castellan, who's another type of officer who has another aura around him of 6 inches. Everyone in that radius can re-roll 1s to hit. Then I also have an army-wide special rule called Bored Soldiers, which means when I roll a 6 on any die, I automatically wound. So if I'm rolling to hit and I roll a 1, I get to re-roll those. But if I roll a die to hit and I get a 6, I automatically wound, and I skip the wound roll for that specific die. But then I've also got Cadian Shock Troopers, who are my basic infantry, who have another special ability called Shock Troops, which means that when they roll a 6, they deal an additional hit. Only with las guns, though, not with other special weapons. And there's 7 people with las guns in the squad, and then there's 1 person with a grenade launcher and 1 person with a plasma gun. I have to decide when I have to overcharge for that, and I have to decide what kind of grenade to fire with my grenade launcher. And then I've got an auto gun on my sergeant as well, so it doesn't key off of those rules. That doesn't key off. Forget about the rules for that guy. And then I have 2 pages worth of stratagems that all key off of very specific instances and off of very specific units. So I've got that open as well. I've got this big book open. I'm looking at my stratagems. I'm looking at my table. I'm trying to remember all this stuff, and it is, oh my goodness, there's a lot going on. There is a lot going on in this game, and I feel like a lot of this layered complexity is as a result of the fact that the core game of Warhammer is ultimately fundamentally flawed. And there is a problem in the game, in my opinion, that Games Workshop are very reluctant to fix. And it is unfortunate to say, it's a little bit obvious, it is the you go, I go system. Because how else does one add interactivity to the game other than in a mass amount of list building, essentially trying to build up your engine for the table? I mean, ultimately, that is the Achilles heel of this game. It doesn't truly matter what you do on the table. What matters is how you build your force and the synergies that you can bring into your force, and ultimately your target allocation, how you slam into your opponent, and how you kill them. And it is a big fundamental problem of Warhammer 9th edition. Will 10th edition be the salvation? Will it be the salvation? Probably not. Probably not, ultimately. But I'm hopeful. I am hopeful. There are people who are very down on 10th edition. I'm not one of them. I'm hopeful for 10th edition to, at the very least, be funner than 9th. I am hopeful that 10th edition will be funner than 9th. The damage, the kind of the high over the top, all the damages, is dropping a little bit, so I'm happy about that. Andre says, yep, looks like the 9th. And JL Hobby says, GW told me 10th would be simple until the first codec comes, then the problems will start again. Come with us to the one-page rules dark side. Well, this is why one-page rules is really taken off, right? Because 9th edition fundamentally is a game about what 9th edition really reminds me of is, if any, this is going to be a very specific reference for very specific people, but it reminds me of Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 edition. You have all these different supplements, all these different books, all of these different options, and the goal of the player is to try and figure out how to break this system. How to take all these different synergies that will be fundamentally, ultimately busted and absolutely broken in terms of the power, and use those. It would be like if Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 was a competitive game and there was a winner and a loser. And that's a little bit of a nightmare. Let me take these sunglasses off. I can't see. Okay, that's better. We're back to nerd alert. Little discourse here with the normal glasses. That's the problem, right? Like, that's the problem with Warhammer. Ultimately, it's just Dungeons and Dragons. But competitive, you know? The worst crunchiness of it. And that's really where the struggle is. I feel like whenever I'm playing my Imperial Guard, that I'm building, that I have an engine, like as if I was playing a card game, and I had my table filled with all my different cards, and they all synergize one another. I've like built up this engine. But the problem is that the pacing doesn't work. In a card game, there's tempo, right? There's other types of strategies. You have to like play your cards out. You have to find your cards in your deck. You have to get the resources to play them. You have to lay them out. In Warhammer, I start with my engine. I start with my engine in play. So really, the question is, who can make the better engine? Who can hit each other the hardest in that opening salvo? And how well can you hide? Now, obviously, there are other elements going on as well. Some people want to play like melee armies that have their own, you know, and you kind of want to hide behind terrain and all this kind of stuff. I get it. There is nuance here. But I'm talking about big picture. This is fundamentally the kind of problem of the meta of Warhammer. And it's something that I find tends to be the case that anybody who has played a war game other than Warhammer, it does, I mean, these kind of problems do begin to stick out in one's head. Second edition was the best ever made, says Uncle Buck. Pretty gnarly claim right there. Noodle says, that's why Neverwinter Nights is such a good game, due to its skill tree system. I love skill trees. I really do love skill trees. I do truly love them. The thing is, I'm actually a fan of crunch. Like, I like big crunchy systems. As Two-Ton Tom says, GURPS is the best D&D ever made. I love GURPS. I'm actually a big fan of GURPS. I really like it. I don't mind crunch. My problem is that I'm not sure I want it in a game that has so many moving parts. Red says, hated 3.5. I quit playing D&D for a while because of it. And then Edmund says, 3.5 was the best D&D, hands down. 3.5 was the D&D that I started with. That was the Dungeons & Dragons I started with. James says, a game can't be competitive if it's not balanced. It's an integral part of it. I mean, I actually disagree. I think it can be competitive if it's not balanced necessarily. But I think that balance makes for generally a funner game for sure for competitive players. But you can play games that are competitive that aren't balanced at all. Like, you certainly can. I'm thinking like the vast majority of mobile games, for example, where you can just buy power and things like that. Lots of MMOs where you can just buy power. But I agree, they're not fun to watch, right? They're not that great as a spectator sport either. Warhammer is all about who hits first and where, says Ebon. Yes, very much so. It's as if the game is kind of like two boxers stood in the ring, and you flip a coin at the beginning to see who gets the swing first. And so therefore the game doesn't become about being the best fighter. It becomes about who can dish out the maximum amount of damage in that opening salvo, those opening punches. That is what the game is all about. That is what the game is all about. By the way, I'm almost 100% certain that this video is now demonetized after playing The Venga Boys Are Coming. I think that is probably... I've probably picked a fight with Sony there. Let me just make sure that it's still off. Yeah. Okay, we got it off. Okay. Just making sure. Philip says, don't mind the crunch. I dislike Unbalance and their stuff getting obsolete as soon as it hits the shelves. I think 8th was the best balance I've seen. Well, this is what I'm looking forward to with 10th. 10th will have the index kind of system. Everyone's going to be at a kind of relatively level playing field, except for the Pearl Death Guard. And perhaps the Gene Stealer cults and Dark Eldar. I don't know, because they haven't got their goddamn their faction focus yet. Games Workshop been doing like a faction focus for every single faction of Warhammer 10th edition, and it feels like Gene Stealer cults and the Dark Eldar are like the last two. They're like two of the armies that I collect. God damn. Balance is all well and good for a three-dimensional game, but here's the thing: of balance only angels understand. If balance is that which uses A to oppose B, so that each have sway and each have it equally, says Joshua. I didn't follow that all the way through, but all right, we're gonna go with it. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for 10th edition. I am excited. I have a suspicion it's going to be really popular at first, but then kind of fall off again, the way that 9th did. And honestly, I don't think one-page rules has anything to worry about. I think we've seen that they're, One Piece Rules, of course, famously being the Warhammer killer, the game where it's all about taking your existing Warhammer collection and just playing a different game. That's very similar, that's designed to evoke the same kind of themes, and it's meant to portray the fiction of Warhammer 40k, but in a different format of a game. I don't think they have anything to worry about from 10th edition. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who buy into 10th edition, and then we'll find that the game is still pretty similar, and we'll move on. I mean, without a doubt, the most revolutionary thing so far that I've enjoyed about 10th edition, at least when I played the demo of it, was the unit cards. Was having the unit cards, all the information out in front of me instead of having to look at my phone. That's it, you know? Yeah. So that's the thing. I'm very curious to see. Now, Games Workshop have a presence at the UK Games Expo, which is what I will be going to next week. I'm very interested. I'm very curious to see whether or not we have anything about 10th edition there or not. Traditionally, I think Games Workshop aren't like really that big at UK Games Expo. They have a big stall, but they don't have like, it's not like Warhammer Fest, right? It's not like Warhammer Fest where there was 4 or 5 tables for the entire loads of people. Kimmy says, nothing wrong with You Go I Go, just has a different flow. I mean, I feel like I agree and disagree. I think you're right. I think it is a play style. The thing about You Go I Go is I feel like it works better in smaller games. With Warhammer, my experience of it has been at 500 points, it's the funnest it can be. Basically, as it gets up more and more, as you get closer to 2,000 points, the pacing starts to get worse. The problems become more apparent. I prefer the smaller sizes. I usually play it around 1,000 points, personally speaking. Though I am looking forward. I am very interested to see what the new Combat Patrol system will look like. I'm very curious to hear about that. Completely. Steven says, One Piece Rules is a Warhammer killer. I've never encountered a single person who plays it. Look, so it's not like it's not as big as Warhammer. But firstly, whenever you're talking about war games, everyone's got a pod, okay? I don't know if you know this, but everyone's got a pod, and so people in your pod might not be playing it. Everyone plays in a certain meta, in a certain context. Your local game store might have loads of people who are really into Malifaux, right? In my area, no one plays Malifaux, but I know that Malifaux is a pretty big game. I know a load of people who play Infinity, but Infinity might not be played, you know, in a game store a couple of times over. It's all about your pod. One Page Rule is generally speaking pretty popular. It's a very big game in terms of war games. It's not one of the biggest. I would say that One Page Rules, in terms of their population of players, probably rivals Mantic these days, is what I would say. Just off the top of my head, not even really thinking about it. I imagine they probably rival Mantic these days. In terms of, at the very least, the number of people playing the games. Just because the game is so accessible and because it is designed to already use Warhammer miniatures. It's the Warhammer killer in the sense, I'm not saying that it's a Warhammer killer in the sense that it is able to compete with Warhammer in terms of numbers either, by the way. I'm saying that conceptually speaking, it competes with Warhammer. It basically says to you, what Games Workshop have got is they have a big miniature store and they sell loads of miniatures. And they say, we have this game to play with, right? And I think that's really important. I think these little collectibles, these little miniatures, they need a game to go alongside them. Otherwise, people start to think, like, what's the point? Why am I building these? Why am I painting these? It's for a game in the future that you probably will never play. But what One Page Rules does, it kind of interjects itself between Games Workshop and you. It says, okay, you've got those miniatures. You played that game of Warhammer that one time and you didn't have fun. Well, maybe you'll have fun with this one. And so people can move on to One Page Rules. And then once people move on to One Page Rules, they start to think about other war games that they could play as well. They get introduced to the idea of miniatures agnostic. There's a kind of paywalled garden around Games Workshop products that kind of keeps people locked in. People don't want to check out other games because they've invested so much in the Warhammer kind of side of things. And One Page Rules kind of takes a hammer to that. I'm not saying, by the way, that they are killing Warhammer. I don't think they are. I don't think they are at all. But definitely it is something that I've heard a lot of people say, that One Piece Rules represents a very big existential threat for Games Workshop, and I think they're right, just not like in the short term. I think it's like decades and decades, you know. Sorry. Anyway, just a little bit of a tangent. Rudy says, personally, I'm not a fan of One Piece Rules. That's fine. I mean, I think it's a fun game, but it's not like, it's not the game that it's not my everything. It's not the game that I'm dedicated to. I don't really have a game like that anymore. I play too many. I'm a variety gamer now. I just play a variety of games. So my big joy in life is trying to find terrain that fits all my games. That's my big joy. Cast Iron Whiskey says, I would like if combat patrols are proper one box armies. Well, that's the hope, right? It's gonna be like roughly kind of 500 points, and each of the combat patrols can fight against one another. You know, each one. Energy Pulse says, gotta run. I just want to say you're doing an awesome job. Now, I'm happy to be a patron. Well, thank you very much, Energy Pulse. I really do appreciate that. Joining my Patreon is the best way to support the channel. It's the only way I'm able to do this. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you to say, Maya. I'm flattered. I am flattered. Absolutely. Red says, absolutely, where I used to play, the northern stores only did Warhammer Fantasy. To the south, only 40k. Another part of the city was just War Machine. Yeah, you get these enclaves. Like, even for big games, right? Even for big games. Like, I've got a friend who is in Glasgow. Or he's not in Glasgow. He's, like, in a town outside of Glasgow. And he can't find anybody to play Bolt Action. Bolt Action, like one of the biggest war games in the world. He can't find anybody to play Bolt Action. In the UK, it's not even like, you know, he's somewhere where Bolt Action isn't popular. Bolt Action is popular, but he can't find like a pod. He can't find his pod. Help him find his pod, people! Huh. GW uses the Apple approach, says Evil Sponge. That is true. That is true. Cast Iron Whiskey says, Conquest looks amazing as well. Conquest, I'm interested in Conquest. Conquest almost had me. There was like a little moment where Conquest almost had me. I was watching... Oh, there is a content creator I'm a really big fan of, who does a lot of Conquest videos. 2 Plus Tough. 2 Plus Tough. I was watching 2 Plus Tough, and he did some videos on Conquest, and he almost got me into Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings. And I also played a demo game of it last year at UKGE. I think I'll try and get another demo game in this year and see whether or not it can convince me. I'm kind of a fan of there are interesting forces in there. None of them spoke to me massively, but I did like the Roman Undead. That's kind of neat. Oh, what is this? The Vi Beast donated £6.66, the mark of Satan. Thank you very, very much, the Vi Beast. The Vi Best. The Vi Best. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. That is very kind of you. Thank you. That will go very well. That will go towards my trip to UKGE. I thank you, so that I can go and play a variety of games and come back to you with my knowledge and tell you which games are the ones to look out for and which ones aren't. Which is what I'm going to be doing, by the way, next not next week, but the week after, I'm going to be doing a stream talking about all the games that I saw, what I loved, and I'm probably even going to do a video on. I'm probably even going to do a video on all the best weekend games and go into depth on it. Rudy, thank you very much for the $1.50 donation. I really appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. That will help me. That will help me on my trip too. Although that'll probably help me get a glass of wine. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm planning. By the way, I'm gonna try and hit up all of the other content creators that I see at UKG. I'm gonna try and say hello to them. I'm really looking forward to it. And if anyone's at UKG, please feel free to say hello. Please feel free to say hello and meet up. I'd love to chat with you guys in the flesh, you know, in the meat space. Cause the digital screens, man, it's not enough for me. I need the flesh. I require the flesh. Red says Conquest has pretty figures. They do. Some of the older ones aren't as nice. The Northern Lords or whatever they're called, the Northern Lords. I typically really like the kind of the bog standard basic human faction. That's kind of typically my favorite. I did go when I was younger. I am a bit cringe, okay? When I was younger, I did go through a kind of humans, fuck yeah, kind of like period of time. I'm afraid to say, but that means that I still play, you know, like the Empire and Warhammer Fantasy, for example. And so the Northern Lords looked kind of interesting to me, but the figures aren't the best. The undead though, the undead Romans are pretty cool. I kind of think they're really neat. Steven says that he loves the Orc Dino Riders. Let's see. Conquest is neat. I wish they had stayed 28mm, says Efren. Yeah, I feel like the larger scale. I get that people are interested in that, and I like having systems on the market that are at different scales to offer different things to different hobbies. I think it's nice to have that variety of games. Personally, for me, I think I would prefer that I kind of would prefer that they be 28mm, but I get it, right? Ed Rosen says, can I get a signed photo? If you take the photo, if you bring the photograph. If you bring the photograph, yes, I will be more than happy. I do not have any images, you know, like that. I don't have any of those. Like, it feels very 50s to me. But sure, if you take the photograph, sure, I'll sign anything you want. I want to try Shatterpoint, says Minty. Me too. So okay, I'm gonna alienate like half of the stream. I did not care for the Clone Wars, specifically the animated series. Not really me. I didn't really enjoy it. I tried to watch it. It was just like to me. Okay, I'm a Batman the animated series gal. I'm not like super into my Star Wars animated series. I like my movies, but not the animated series. And so I'm not super into like Shatterpoint from a conceptual perspective, right? I'm not like super into it from the idea of like, oh boy, I'm gonna get to see all my favorite characters. Oh, it's Ashoka, you know? That's not me. I'm not really like looking into Ashoka, but the gameplay looks very interesting. It's just that I've already got a Star Wars miniature game. It's Legion, and I kind of wish that Shatterpoint had been introduced as a skirmish version of Legion, right? So moving over into this more kind of animated series art style and focusing on that kind of era in Star Wars, it's not really super me. Like, I would have preferred on it. Like, I liked it in Legion. I didn't mind when it was just Empire versus Rebels. I know that everyone is going to hate that, and everyone is so happy that they moved on to the Clone Wars and did the Empire, the Republic and the Trade Federation, but that's just me. I did mind. I like Darth Vader. I like Luke Skywalker. I like all that sort of stuff. The 100 Kingdoms. That's right, Efren. Yeah, the 100 Kingdoms. Red says, been playing Moonstone. Great game. Moonstone is indeed a great game with the melee combat with the cards system. I think that's really cool. Hellcat says, did anyone else back the Apex board game skirmish game? I did see it. I've actually seen that game was demoed for me by the guys that made. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say. I didn't sign an NDA, so I guess I am. That game was demoed for me by them, and it looks very interesting. I kind of think they've done a very good job of taking what do you call them? The island BSC DayZ. You're on the Valorant, you know, Apex Legend, you know, the genre of game where you're on an island and it was like 3 cycles ago, right? Or it was like a cycle ago. Are we still in the midst of it? You know why video games kind of have these big moments where everybody's trying to make a thing? There's like there was RTS games. No, first there was Doom clones, then there was RTS games, then there was MMOs, and then that's when I kind of stopped. And then it was like Minecraft, and then it was Five Nights at Freddy's, and then it was zombie games. Oh no, Five Nights at Freddy's came after zombie games. Then it was zombie games, and then it was everybody's on an island. Battle Royale, that's it. Battle Royale game. There we go. It's a Battle Royale game. They did a really good job, I think, of translating the Battle Royale mechanics over into a board game / miniature war game. The systems in it are very interesting. It looked kind of crunchy. It looked kind of interesting, actually, and very random. To be honest, I'm usually not a big fan of those big, massive Kickstarter games, but that one did look pretty interesting. And I ain't been paid nothing to say that. I ain't been paid nothing. Ain't been paid nothing. In fact, I don't think have I ever been, no, not for a miniature war game. Alas, no one has ever, well, I've been approached and asked to do they're like, hey, Discourse, let's make some recommendations, baby. And I was like, no, I shall not do that. I kind of wandered into it this week as well with the Quackalope and Into the Unknown, all that kind of, you know, if you guys have watched my latest video on the tabletop gaming, it's called drama, but really these things have really massive implications for the parties involved. I think they're really, really important to talk about. So yeah. Everyone, all the YouTubers are now out being like, oh, my editorial policy for accepting bribes is that I don't accept bribes. Honest to God. That's what everybody's out now. Everybody's out there now. I've done one-page rules. Yeah. That was after I really liked the game, though. So I have done sponsorships. Done sponsorships for one-page rules, and I've done sponsorships for Dragon Trappers Lodge. I've done a lot for Dragon Trappers Lodge, actually. But their minis are rocking. I mean, where else can you get the Games Workshop painting staff on the table? Huh? Where else? There hasn't been any Quackalope updates, no, Terrence. There hasn't been any updates to the Quackalope, to the Quackalope scandal, to Quackalope drama at all, I suspect. Everything's kind of gone a little bit quiet on them. Quackalope's just started releasing videos again, and I assume that they're probably managing their comments very aggressively. So this is like my just talking out my ass, right? This is me talking out my butt. Just off to the side. But I do feel like they've probably taken a big hit reputationally in the industry. I feel like their ability to work with loads of different publishers has probably been hit really substantially after all of this. Not even necessarily because of what actually went down, but because of all the smoke, right? All the smoke. All the smoke about blackmail, extortion, all that sort of stuff. I feel like Into the Unknown have done a lot of damage to the Quackalope brand for sure. Whether that's right or wrong, well, check out my video. Hellcat says, the Nerd Queen must be paid to speak about games. The truest reviews are from those who are actually interested. Well, I do get sent games sometimes and things like that. I've been sent books out, and I usually do send pictures on Twitter when I get sent something, and I take a picture of it and I thank the publisher and I hashtag sponsored, because I feel like if I was sent something out for free, then everybody should know that I was sent that out for free. Or I say hashtag ad. Goldeling, thank you very much for the donation. £20. Wow, thank you. Says, my UKG trip is cancelled, so have this for fun while there. I'm really, what? Your trip is cancelled. I'm really sorry to hear that your trip was cancelled. That really sucks. I'm very sorry to hear that. It wasn't because of the trains, was it? I've seen lots of people say that the trains have been an absolute hellscape, trying to navigate, trying to get into the actual convention center. If you don't have a car, apparently it's like really, really hellish right now because of the trains. So I'm really sorry to hear that, but thank you very much for the donation. It really does help. It will help me. So thank you very much. Oh, and my phone is making noises. My apologies for that. I'm gonna knock that on vibrate. So thank you. That was a great video. It helped me a ton to understand. It says sworn to lie. Well, thank you very much. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that that's the case. I do like doing those types of videos. Okay. So I do like doing those types of videos, okay? Because I've got a legal background, and so I like kind of delving into arguments, like into these positions and these well, I mean, like they're basically cases, right? They're basically cases. I like delving in and looking at the two arguments and trying to come to a conclusion. This is basically what I did at law school all the time, only it was around, you know, like in the 1900s, some man was attacked by some other fella's bees, and whether or not who's right or wrong, you know, like that kind of stuff, right? Only instead of it being bees now, it's like a board game and reviewer. So it's basically the same thing. So I enjoy going into that and thinking about it and talking about it. And I think that really important issues get brought up by these sort of issues because they are contemporary issues that we're dealing with as a community, not only in war games but in board games and in role-playing games as well. So I think it's really interesting. I think they're really important to talk about. Coffee Time says nothing from Midwinter Minis either over their stuff. Yes, I think I might do a video on that as well, honestly, because I think that's a really interesting conversation. For those who don't know, Midwinter Minis recently did a video on historical wargaming, the potential issues with historical wargaming, and perhaps some of the points that he touched on in that video. People in the wider kind of historical community, I think some people got upset about those. So I think there's a really interesting conversation to be had about them. I'm not sure if Midwinter Minis, if Guy, he really went into like all the depth, into like a huge amount of depth on a lot of points because he was trying to cover quite a lot of points. So I think I might do a little bit of a deep dive into those and cover the kind of various, oh my god, it is the mark of the beast again. The mark of the beast returns. Thank you very much, Vibest. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's really kind of you. Thank you. That is the mark of the beast. Once more, the secret ingredient is crime. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's really kind of you. Thank you. Let's see. Terrence says, yeah, but when you talk about your arse, there is actual legal training behind it, right? Well, that's the thing, Terrence. The trick is to always say allegedly, and then every so often just sprinkle in my opinion. That's it. You can say anything you want if you do that. This is not legal advice. Dear God, this is not legal advice. K-Dog says we should use this channel name to the survivors of G-Dub's abuse group therapy session, says K-Dog. Well, I mean, I do find that there are a lot of people. I think the longer you are in wargaming, the more likely you are to either have just left completely or have eventually kind of begun to sort of filter out. Just because I feel like there is a cycle to Games Workshop's business model that alienates a lot of people. There is a cycle to it. It typically starts off with the hype and with the yeah, oh god, yeah. And this is often from an interest in the setting, because Warhammer specifically, especially Warhammer 40k, has an incredibly interesting setting. It's really interesting, really fun to play in, very evocative, you know, very unique. And people really love that. And then they get into it, they collect the miniatures, they get into the game. But then over time, you know, the prices go up, they have to buy more books, they see their old books get invalidated, they see the prices go up, then the game isn't really actually that fun. They realize after having spent like $1,000 on an army, and they discover that actually they're not really having like a super amount of fun, and then the prices go up, and then their friends all start dropping out, and they start having to keep up with all these books, and then the prices go up, and it keeps on happening. And a lot of people eventually, like a boiling frog, they just leap out of the pot altogether, you know. So they just leave completely. They never go into it. They get out of wargaming, and they get alienated by it. Then there's other people, I think, who like go in and play other games. Obviously there's people who stick around, but it's just, I know a lot of people. I mean, the generation of people that I play with all started in like 3rd and 2nd edition and 4th edition. So there's a lot of people I personally know in my friend group, in my gaming group, who don't play Warhammer anymore because they can't afford to. They can't afford to play Warhammer anymore, or they can't afford the like mental capacity, or they can't afford to keep up with the books and things like that. And I don't think that is a unique experience in the hobby at all. I don't think that's a unique experience. Not the bees, says Jez. Not the bees. Fun fact: the not the bees scene from Nick Cage in The Wicker Man was from a deleted scene. It wasn't in the original movie. Plus, also, while very funny, the not the bees moment, the Wicker Man remake that Nick Cage starred in was originally intended to be a comedy, and Nick Cage acted in that movie as if it were a comedy because he thought it still was, but it was only rewritten at the last moment to not be a comedy anymore. It was meant to be sincere. So there you go. There's the Wicker Man. There we are. Ben Puffer says, I really want to love Infinity, but after a dozen games, I feel like I only understand 14% of the rules. I'm not the biggest fan of Infinity. I've got a bunch of friends who are like really into Infinity. I've got, I know people online who are like really into Infinity. And I get the arguments that it's the best game ever, like best competitive game, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. From all the games I've played, I just didn't have a lot of fun. And I'm not a big fan of the D20 dice system either. It felt a little bit finicky for me. I appreciate that there's lots of options, but it felt all a bit much for me personally. I just didn't really gel with it, you know. Hey, Discourse, love the vid, says G-Wiz Workshop. Well, thank you very much. That's what I like to hear. Thank you very much, G-Wiz. I'm happy. I love that you love the videos. I love that because it means that I can be here doing this. And for that, I am eternally grateful to all of you. I really am eternally grateful to all of you. I'm so appreciative. Thank you very much, guys. To be honest, I am still in awe that we have 263 people here. That's, how insane is that? How crazy is that? That's wild. Not the comedy bees, says Jazz. Yes, well, there are no issues with historical gaming, says Sarah Disco Dolly. Well, I'm actually not going to give my opinion on that because the content, hello, you'll have to watch my next video on that, which I haven't written yet, but I will. I just have to do some other stuff first. get the next video out for the Dungeons and Discourse video for the channel. But yeah. You'll have to watch my video. I got a very guys, I could probably do like an hour-long video on historical wargaming, but I'm not going to because no one will watch it. So sorry, but no one is interested in that content. But I could do starting from the 70s, looking at the chip-based tokens and going all the way to the modern day, the evolution, how the attitudes have changed, what's changed, why they've changed, is it good that they've changed? Oh, it would be interesting, it'd be fascinating. Haha, only $1,000 on an army. I wish it cost so little, says Steven. Well, I think for my Space Marines, I can't remember now. It was over $500 for my Space Marines army. Mark Vernon, thank you very, very much for your donation. Oh, okay, spicy question. Have you ever played Blood and Plunder? What's your thoughts? Have I ever played Blood and Plunder? Okay, no, I can't get it. I'll show. No, I can't. I was gonna be very. I have not played Blood and Plunder, but I did get the recent starter set, and you're probably going to see the starter set in a video at some stage, maybe next month. I did get the most recent, the Blackbeard v Maynard starter set, which is a pretty impressive starter set, I gotta say. I haven't played it. I've read the rules though, and boy oh boy. It looks interesting. It looks interesting. I really want to play it. I'm very excited by it. And in fact, I'm probably going to be touching on Blood and Plunder in the historical war games video because there is a contention in that video from Guy from Midwinter Minis that you know, there are people who don't want to play the bodies. But I mean, like in games like Blood and Plunder, you can play the pirates, and the pirates aren't the bodies. Pirates are the goodies, kind of, sort of. I mean, it's kind of more complicated than that, right? But you know, not all of historical games are about existential threats. But I love the fatigue system from Blood and Plunder. It looks really interesting to me, and I really like the dice system as well. I'm a big fan of D10s. Also, Games Workshop prices makes me think of the new Blood and Plunder starter box as a comparison. Oh, but there you go. That is exactly what I was thinking of doing, Mark. You've scurried me out. Whenever I will be reviewing the 10th edition starter set, if I could get one, if the scalpers haven't taken them all, I will be reviewing it on the channel, and I will be doing something that very few other people seem to do. I will be reviewing the box set by comparing it to other starter sets that exist in the world. Not just other Warhammer starter sets, other wargaming starter sets. I'm going to review it based on the kind of marketplace because I want competition in this marketplace. Ray Foreman, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Says, thoughts about the new Critical Role Light rules game system seems great for narrative roleplay, but hopefully their D20 system is crunchier. Red, you have stepped into an anthill with this one. Okay, there is a little bit of spice online right now about Critical Role's new system. Have you seen this? I didn't watch the stream. I've had a glance through the quick start rules, but I haven't really looked at it. But I have read some opinions on it online, and I have seen that apparently it is extremely similar to Blades in the Dark. Essentially, the actual system, the new Critical Role system, is basically just Blades in the Dark. Now, I think they actually do credit Blades in the Dark in the system, which is interesting. I'm not too sure. I don't have like a huge opinion on it just yet. But there's a lot of anger online from people who think that Critical Role have kind of stolen the Blades in the Dark system and are now monetizing it, right, for themselves. Firstly, I don't think you can steal game mechanics necessarily. But secondly, the Blades in the Dark system's awesome. I really like the Blades in the Dark system. So if it is like the Blades in the Dark system, I think it'll be a ton of fun. But I get what you're saying about hopefully their D20 system is crunchier. I don't know. I know nothing about their kind of Dungeons and Dragons replacement, their fantasy one that they have coming up next after Illuminated Worlds. I have no idea what the new one is, but I am interested to see it. And like you, I expect it will be quite a bit crunchier. The Illuminated World system and the Candela Obscura, like the one that Candela Obscura uses, does strike me as more of a kind of loosey-goosey system for horror games, right? And horror, I think, works better when the game is a little bit rules light, when you can be a little bit more flexible with the system. So I imagine that their D20 system, the one that is going to be more fantasy based, heroic fantasy presumably based, it'll be quite a little bit crunchier. I mean, it's going to be replacing Dungeons and Dragons in the roster, right? So I expect so. Have I read the graphic novel Die by Kieran? Asked Terrence. I have not. No, I have not read the graphic novel Die at all. No. Pirates are monsters, but somebody's got to be the bad guy in games, says Paladin Pariah. I disagree. So I am planning on playing pirates in Blood and Plunder because we are all about liberty and democracy and plunder. You know, you can be about all those things. We're going to take votes on who we're going to pillage. Hey! Right? Is that any better or worse than listening to the bloody king? Right? I don't think so. We're gonna vote our way from democracy to plunder. It's gonna be brilliant. It's gonna be excellent. The pirates weren't really the baddies. It's more complicated than that. And that's what I love about it. That's what I kind of love about these games, you know, that they are historical games do tend to be a little bit more complicated. Generally speaking, unless we're talking about the big old daddy World War II kind of setting, in which case there's more. I'm saving. Let me save myself, guys. It's like prom night here. Let me save myself, guys. Come on. Red Foreman, thank you very much for the $2 donation. Says it reminds me of Monster of the Week. I totally get you on that one. It's because the core gameplay of the game is designed for very short sessions where you can bang them out really quick, much like on prom night. You can bang them out, which works really well for horror, right? Because you get these like one-shot sessions. I play a lot of one-shot sessions in Call of Cthulhu, for example, or World of Darkness, or Delta Green, my favorite game of all time, I think. Even more so than Call of Cthulhu. Maybe. I haven't played enough yet. But horror works really well for these very short, snippy sessions that kind of almost like anthologies, and it feels like that system is designed to do very short, snippy systems. I've never played Monster of the Week, but I've heard of it, and I think Monster of the Week is very similar like that. Also, incidentally, helps whenever you're doing an actual play system online. A game online, yeah. Pirates were basically the godfather of boats, says Paladin Pariah. I mean, yeah, sure. Paladin says, I'm a history teacher. Pirates are not about freedom. Yeah, but Paladin, I have watched a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean. So, I mean, we're kind of coming at this with equal expertise, I think, right? I've seen Jack Sparrow get up to all sorts of business, and they sang songs about it, and I've been on the ride, so I feel like we're kind of coming at this from similar angles. Very similar angles. Noodle says people play Call of Cthulhu. Yes, I play Call of Cthulhu. I've only ever known people to play Dungeons and Dragons in real life unless I ran the game. So I've got the opposite problem that a lot of people have. The group that I play games in, I play role-playing games in, which is a separate group from the War Games game group. The group I play role-playing games in, everyone DMs. Everyone wants to DM. So we play like a variety of systems, and it's really hard. I haven't DM'd a game in ages because right now people are always vying to DM. The moment the game's over, it's like watching a bunch of dogs go at like a dead piece of lamb on the ground. Ah, yeah, that's me. We're the group. The next game, and then all the DMs are like, ah, and everyone's trying to be the next DM. It's like, I've got an idea. Which I think is kind of the opposite problem that most people have, which is that no one wants to run the game and everyone wants to play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I don't experience that. I'm a very different kind of space from that, which is great, which is awesome. But I wish I could run games more often. I really do. Jazz Hunt says, Oceanic Muggers. Nothing wrong with a little bit of mugging. El Gordo 555 with that lovely little, look at that little porky pig there. Thank you very much. Says, £5 donation. Firstly, thank you. I do appreciate that. Says, many thanks for everything you're doing for the community. I look forward to your take on the many war games out there. Thank you. I mean, so my plan is to go off to UKG, fly across the ocean to East Ireland, and then try a bunch of games, pick out the best ones, get the best ones, buy the best ones, and then bring them back with me. And I'm going to do a video going over all the best war games from UKGE and talking about them and why they're so good and why you maybe should check them out. I'm going to try and get in there just before 10th edition launches and everyone's going mental for 10th edition. That's the plan. That is the plan. Paladin Priya says, you millennials and your high quality movies that are well written and directed. When I was a kid, we had Cutthroat Island and we liked it that way. Oh wow, I've watched some old pirate movies. I really have. I've watched some really old ones. Oh god, I'm trying to remember. Crimson Pirate, was that it? Was it The Pirate? I can't remember. I can't remember which one I've seen. But I've seen some really old school pirate movies. Obviously, I saw Treasure Island. Everybody saw Treasure Island. And Hook. Who could forget Hook? The old classic Hook. Swarm to the Light says, I've seen all of One Piece. I think I know pirates. Red, thank you very much for the $20 donation. Thank you. Says, how's the Space Marine painting going? Get them done before 10th drops. Okay. Firstly, thank you very much for the $20 donation. Okay. Right. So for those who do not know, I have a 2,000 point army of Space Marines that I bought because I lost a bet. So I had to buy 2,000 points of Space Marines, and they've all been built. Now they sit on my shelf like an albatross around my neck. And I am going to paint them. And I'm going to paint them for 10th edition. I haven't started yet because I'm going to do them all in a single night. I'm going to paint all 2,000 points in a single night. And I have planned this scheme. And I think it is possible to do it. And I'm going to place a bet that I can do it. But I'm going to bet that I can paint them all in a 24-hour period. I think I can. So that's my plan, and that video will be coming out in June. It will be coming out around the same time as 10th edition Warhammer. It will come out around that time for the maximum impact, right? So that is my plan. I'm going to be able to do it all, and then I'm going to have 2,000 points worth of Space Marines. I'll play a single game of 10th, and I'll go, this was a mistake, probably. That's actually a pretty good, I might actually, yeah, that could be a pretty fun end to the video. But yeah, so that is my plan. I am going to paint them in June. I'm not like painting them one at a time. I'm just gonna knock them all in. I've been painting through some Imperial Guardsmen. I've been painting my Imperial Guardsmen. I bought some of the new Guardsman sculpts, and I've been painting those kind of for 10th edition as my army that I want, that I love and find joy in. And so I've been cracking out all my old Lehman Russ and things like that and playing with those. So that's been pretty good. That has been pretty good. Chris Leonard. Oh no, Chris. Oh no, says, I left a date early to go to Warhammer Fest. Mistakes were made. Yeah, ooh, I'm very sorry to hear that. Warhammer Fest was a massive disappointment. Okay, so firstly, everyone there was lovely. Every single time I talk about Warhammer Fest, I want to just constantly emphasize how lovely everybody was at Warhammer Fest. I feel like all the employees did like a really good job. I think all of the, volunteers is what I heard. I heard they were volunteers. I don't have any proof of that though, so I don't think I mentioned it in the video. But I heard at the event that all the employees from Games Workshop that were working there were actually on a volunteer basis, which... Ooh, but everyone was absolutely lovely, and I just feel like the event could have been done a lot better. I feel like it could have been done a lot better. And everybody there, I think, agreed, right, at the time. Red, thank you very much for the $10 donation. Wow. Wow. Thank you very much for the $10 donation. It says, lots of people have tried more RPG systems since the OGL scandal, and creators have moved to more systems. Getting a part of the D&D pie was lucrative, but what about smaller pieces of smaller pies? It's very interesting you say that. Okay, more discourse lore. We're going to drop some discourse lore on the channel here. We're going to drop some discourse lore on the channel. Wait, what the hell is going on? Is there like a UFO coming to pick me up from the graveyard? Come on. Some discourse lore here. So I actually run... actually, I might have mentioned... No, I don't think I've ever mentioned this before. I actually run a Dungeons & Dragons club. I run a club in my local community that is I'm not like super involved in it anymore since I started running the channels, like since I started doing all this, since I took up living in a graveyard. But before that I was a bit more hands-on. But I'm like an admin of a club that basically arrange for games online of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And now, as part of that, I'm not like the only one. And as part of that, I've always argued for more RPGs. And I was against calling it the D&D, yeah, well, not, society of like X, right? Because it's for my like local area. But during the OGL scandal, unprompted by me, it wasn't me. I was not like the little rogue snake in the grass. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, okay? But people independently in the group, in that community, which is the biggest in the area that I live in, it's the biggest in Northern Ireland, they started saying, should we call this club something else? Like, should we have Dungeons and Dragons in the name anymore? During the OGL scandal, I don't, like, that really hurt Wizards of the Coast. I don't think they even know the kind of far-reaching impact of that. But it really did expose a lot of people to other systems. People were willing to try new games. People actively went out of their way to stop playing Dungeons and Dragons and start playing other systems. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant hearing people actually say things like, "Oh, I want to. Can we call it the RPG Society instead of the D&D Society?" And I was like, "Yes, yes." So that element was good. What wasn't great was was how terrifying it was for third-party creators and things like that. But that was an upside, I think. I do think that element was an upside, exposing people to other games for sure. Getting part of the D&D pie. What about smaller pieces? I do feel like it is viable to be a game in the RPG space and not be directly competing with Dungeons and Dragons. Like if you look at Delta Green, for example, that is a smaller game. That is sustainable. It's sustainable. Dennis Detweiler, the creator of Delta Green, lives off of making and producing content for Delta Green, right? So it is sustainable. It is feasible to have a game and sell it and play. Although it's very hard, it's very rare, and it's very, very hard. Like I really need to emphasize how hard it is to get that. You really need the exposure. Evil Smudge says my YouTube feed with nothing but videos called Warhammer Fest has problems. Yeah, it had a lot of issues. Thank you very much for the donation for the donation there, Red. Chris says it's alright. It was a date with my wife. She got over it. well. Cleo says I'd hang out in the graveyard and write poems or something. Yeah, you know, light some candles, hang out with Frasier and the gang, you know. Atomic says, Discourse starring in Plan 9 from outer space. It is I, the Discourse character. I'm going to get recast halfway through this stream. Tara says, Pinkertons with the hot light treatment. Yeah, right. Wow, okay. What is Wizard of the Coast doing, man? Like, what are they doing? For real, like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? Which is the question that I will be asking in my very next Dungeons and Discourse video. Let me tell you. I actually just recorded that today. So you'll see me in the same, I'm going to be wearing the exact same outfit. Because I literally recorded that, like an hour ago. Salty Fighter Biker says, help support Lady Discourse. Hit the like button. Yes, please do, guys, if you want to. If you're liking what you like, then like the like button. Or if you don't like the like button, then hit the unlike button. Yeah, that's it. Commander Covering Fire says we started to play Advanced Old School Essentials. I've never played that. I've never played that. Ed Scar says, when I ran an RPG group, I had 11 people, and every single person was GMing at least one system each, including homebrews. Not a single one was D&D. I love so many games. I love so many games. Right now, I'm in a Pathfinder game over at the Rules Lawyer channel. I'm in a Pathfinder game at the moment, and it is a real blast. It's very, very fun. It is a very, very fun. Heck yeah! Hydrate! Yeah. I'm drinking, guys. I'm drinking water. I'm drinking water. Whoa. I'm drinking water. How about that? Lemon and lime flavored water, because that's just how I roll. Neil says, with perhaps the spookiest comment ever to happen on chat, as someone who buries people for a living, I've been in some spooky places. Now, he doesn't say whether or not this is a legitimate job. He just says he buries people for a living. He just does it. You know? Just for fun. Wizard of the Coast think they're too big to feel. However, ... says Nibble Tack. I mean, I feel like, in a sense, Wizard of the Coast are too big to feel. Remember, all of these crises that they have found themselves in have led to them making more money, right? Like, Wizards of the Coast are making more money than ever before. They're making more money than ever before. And I think a lot of that comes from Magic the Gathering. That, as a product, is extremely lucrative. Extremely lucrative, because it is essentially organized gambling. What they have discovered is that actually, if you sell gambling products, you make lots of money. Something the gambling industry discovered a long time ago, and that it's generating a ton of revenue for them. But I do feel like they're being very aggressive with it, and while it's working in the short term, I think long term it can cause issues with, you know, from the release fatigue, alongside the fact that as the price point goes higher, they're going to be squeezing out most of their customer base. McKay's Kimes, thank you very much for the $5 donation, says, GW, I'm the most evil gaming company, hands down. Wizards of the Coast, hold my Bud Light. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast do seem like they are trying to outplay Games Workshop in terms of the evil department. I guess they're on kind of another level, right? Like, Games Workshop, I feel like a lot of their problems come from their inability to understand how to run their business appropriately. Wizards of the Coast kind of know what they're doing, and they're being kind of malicious with it, right? Like hiring the Pinkertons. Like, what's going on, guys? What's going on? A potato flavored water, says Nolan Inquisitor. Wow, dude. Wow. Potato flavored water. Why is that? Why would it be potato flavored? Why would it be potato flavored, Nolan Inquisitor? Huh? Evil Sponge says their parent company Hasbro is failing and is putting more and more pressure on Wizards of the Coast to make money. Yeah, increasingly, Wizards of the Coast is like the only thing keeping Hasbro standing, which is really interesting because Hasbro has been down loads. I think I've heard some people suggest that this has been a result of the packaging changes. A lot of the Hasbro have moved over from plastic packaging to kind of cardstock packaging, and apparently this has made it harder to kind of see what you're getting in the package. So that's kind of interesting. What's this about going away, says Hellspar. I'm leaving, Hellspar. I'm leaving to go to UKTE. Woo! I need like an air horn. I need an air horn. I need an air horn. I do need an air horn. Yeah, damn. Yeah, I'm going to UKTE next week, and I'm super hyper excited. I'm really excited. A little bit nervous. I am always a little bit nervous. Really nervous, in fact. But I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. Getting over the anxieties. You know? So, yeah, it's going to be big. And I'm going to be playing all of the new war games. And I'm curious to see whether or not... what do you guys think? Do you think Warhammer 10th edition will be there? I don't think so personally. But Games Workshop do have a stall at 10th edition. So, or do you have a stall at UKG, at the UK Gaming Expo? Games Workshop do have a stall there. They do sell Warhammer products there at the place. So I wonder, will they have any demos? Because everyone, like last time I was there, everybody had stalls. So I'm interested to see whether or not there will be a stall for Warhammer. Usually they definitely do a hobby zone for sure, where you can like build and paint minis. Potato flavored water equal vodka, says Oz Nation. Okay, that is very true. That is very true. In which case, it cannot be potato flavored because I don't think I'm allowed to drink alcohol on stream. I don't think I'm allowed to. I'm not sure. So nobody tell the YouTube police. Garzini says your neighbor would love you to get an air horn. Yeah, well, you know, I get it is only through mercy that I do not get an air horn. Mercy. Terrence says it was strange for me to see the credit of Hasbro's Dungeons and Dragons in the credit of the movie. Huh, you know what? I never actually sat and watched all the credits. I didn't know that. Huh, they credit like what? Like Dungeons and Dragons, just like the game, the concept of Dungeons and Dragons. Bada bing, yeah. Have I got a license for that air horn, asks Hellcat? Do I need that? Do I need a license to do a air horn? Terrence Miltner says, what games are top of your list to check out? Well, actually, so top of my list, you know what? I'm gonna give a shout out here. I'm gonna give a shout out to George at 3 Sales Gaming. I'm not sure if anybody here watches any of his content, but I've watched a bunch of his content he does a lot of A Song of Ice and Fire, and I saw that he has a game coming out called Margrave, March of the Marcher Lords, or Lands of the Marcher Lords, something like that. It's called Margrave, and it looks really interesting. I'm very curious about it, and I know he's going to be at UKGE, so I'm gonna go and try and see that game in play. It is a rank and flank game, and it has 3 very interesting factions. And another element of it is it seems to be inspired by a lot of RTS games of the 2000s, and that is actually a time period that is very special to me, mostly because it was my youth, and I have nostalgia for it, and therefore it was the greatest time in the history of mankind, and no one else will say otherwise. And I'm sure you'll all disagree. Everyone who, you know, you're the best time ever was when you were young. I get it. But I'm really interested to see that. I'm really interested to see that game. Red Foreman, thank you again for the donation. Thank you very much. $5 says, how has no one made an RPG set in the 50s? Like B-movie 50s, aliens, robots, giant bugs and commies, space race, and Cold War adventure. Ho. To be honest, Red, I guess it would be the Fallout RPG, right? Like it would be Fallout. It would be Fallout, right? That is like Fallout is the exaggerated 1950s style. In which case, there is a Fallout RPG, I believe. I know there's a Fallout war game because I've played it. Wasteland Warfare, and it's pretty fun. There's a lot going on with it, though. I suggest doing your research before you get into it. But it is a lot of fun. I quite enjoy it. But I agree with you. I feel like it is definitely that kind of retro futuristic time period. Hasn't been tapped into loads, which is a little bit of a surprise considering how popular Fallout has been. I guess in terms of video games, one of the only few like IPs I've seen have tried to capture that vibe was the Outer Worlds, right? The Outer Worlds, they had that kind of like colonial kind of gimmick, you know, the evil corporation and things like that. So I guess that's kind of I saw that on Apple TV of all places, there is a TV show that has like a 1950s sort of vibe. So I saw that, and it's about like trying to sell timeshares on the moon. But it's in this kind of like retro future kind of it uses a lot of the aesthetic like door-to-door salesmen and people have got jetpacks and stuff. Going to UKG myself, says Graham. Can't wait. Well, if I see you there, please feel free to stop by and say hello. Coffee Time Hobby says, in Northern Ireland, you need a license for anything with a trigger. That I would not disagree. I think this is another element of historical war games that I actually have a little bit, because I grew up at a time period. I grew up in a society that was just about post-conflict, kind of at the tail end of a conflict into the post-conflict setting. So for me, there's a lot of like historical war game stuff that is real to me, right? Like I grew up amongst a lot of it, you know, like a conflict society. And so I think I've got like a bit of an interesting kind of take, I think, on some of those elements. Silverthorn says, Ballykeefe Irish potato vodka. Wink, wink. Jeez. Red says, play Fallout. Well, yeah, it's very, very similar. Anthony says, Irish potato water is potent, which I have tasted, by the way, Winston says there was a GURPS version similar to that back in the day. Indeed, there was, and I have played it. Terrence says, pulp RPGs could cover 50s. That is true, yeah. Pulp RPGs could very much do that. Though a lot of pulp stuff tends to be in the 30s or so, I find. Fallout is post-apocalyptic but set in a non-ruined 50s. That is true. That is true. It is. I mean, it's post-apocalyptic for sure. Yeah. Kilo says, yeah, that Apple TV show is pretty fun and the aesthetic. Yeah, it is. I wish I could remember it. Luther Furlong, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs actually set in that time. Yeah, maybe. So I just saw Jason Short there say Thaco forever. No thanks. I've never used Thaco. I've never personally used Thaco. All I hear are nightmare scenarios. Chris Leonard says, I refuse to believe anyone has played GURPS. Okay, Chris. I have played a lot of GURPS. I have played a lot of GURPS. GURPS is one of my favorite systems. I've played it a lot. I don't get this. Why do people hate GURPS? GURPS is easy to play. GURPS is so easy to play. GURPS is like one of the simplest systems I've ever played. Everything can be achieved. Roll 3d6. Do you hit the target number? Yes or no. Yes or no. Do you roll under what you need, or did you roll over it? That's the question. And then it's just modifiers on top of that. In terms of building characters, it's really easy. There's only 3 stats, right? Strength, dex, IQ. That's it. That's all you need to worry about. And then it's up to your GM to decide how, noodly you want to get. If you're ever like struck by the idea of playing GURPS, if someone's like, we're gonna play GURPS, you're like, oh my god, there is so much to this game. Here is how you play GURPS. Go into the character book, like 4th edition or 5th edition. I think there's a new edition of it coming out. Go into the character book, go to the disadvantages section, okay? And flick through the disadvantages. Find one that sounds really interesting to roleplay, right? And go, I'm gonna make a character based on this disadvantage, slot that disadvantage in, go to the advantages, and then start working from there. Boom, you're done. It's so easy. I love GURPS. GURPS is one of the few games that you can go into the book without a concept idea. You're like, I have no idea what the hell I'm gonna play. Open up the GURPS book and you'll come out of there with a complete character built in your mind based on it. Based on the advantages and disadvantages inside this book. We had to introduce a disadvantage limit because I kept on taking too many disadvantages each character. I absolutely love GURPS. GURPS is the type of game where you're a fighter and what you do is you pick up a rock and you run up behind somebody, you hit them in the head with a rock and they go down. You're like, yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, I was introduced to GURPS by a DM who was happy, would basically just walk me through it. But like after that, I think it's pretty easy to get. Red says, I play a lot of GURPS, have a ton of books. Sword says, I love and I play GURPS. Yeah, we got all the GURPS, the GURPS gooners out now. Yeah, come on, GURPS gooners. Yeah, woo, GURPS goons. Yes. I love GURPS. I actually love GURPS. Like, it's one of my favorite systems because I'm a big role player. I love role play, and I find that GURPS, the system, gets out of the way a lot. It gets out of the way a lot. And I never understand why people say that it's like such a really hard to learn system. I always find it so easy to like just get into and play, And I love the fact that the thing with GURPS is because it's all points based. It has like values for things like being a landowner, in a kind of feudal society, or having loads of like henchmen. You can do all of this stuff in GURPS. For those who don't know, GURPS is generic universal role-playing game system. So GURPS is a generic system that you can basically build anything. Now, where the complication comes in on is that as a game, it simulates absolutely everything. And there are thousands of different books. But all you need to do is buy the core book and get rid of all of the systems and just read through the book and just pick out the things that you want it to simulate for you. That's it, I think it's a really, really simple game. Chris says, I knew that would set you off. Every time, I'm too easy. I'm just too easy. I'm just too easy. Wade says, I love film noir and I would love to play a film noir RPG. My gaming group isn't interested. Sometimes you've got to drag them, Sometimes you've just got to be like, guys, it's my turn. It is my turn. I haven't ran a game in ages. It's my turn. We're going to play this game, okay? I'm done with Dungeons and Dragons. I want to play something else. Please, let's play something else. And it doesn't have to be a campaign. Just play like a one-shot. Play like a 3-session game. Just be like, guys, we're taking a break. I'm sick of this. Can we please play this game instead for a 3-person game? I'm going to run it. It'll be 3 sessions long at most, and it'll be over. And then we can go back to Dungeons and Dragons. Can we please play this? Just do it. Just insist upon yourself. Just insist. I have to do that sometimes because I need to play in a horror game at least once a year, or else my head will explode. So every so often I have to be like, guys, we need to play a horror one-shot. Can we please play a horror RPG one-shot? Otherwise, I will explode. Larkbeard says, 1 million books to buy? Sounds a bit like GW. They're totally optional. They're totally optional. They're not like on my problem with a lot of the books of Games Workshop actually is that I detest this kind of season model where there's a progression of the books where you're meant to kind of keep up. I really don't like that. I'm really not a fan of that. GURPS isn't like that. GURPS is like, if you want to do magic, here's the magic book. If you want to do like superheroes, here's the superhero book, right? Bruce R says, been running Acton Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu fighting naughty, scary, ooh, naughty word. I actually don't think I can say that word on stream. How wild is that? I think the YouTubers will come for me. My videos have been getting demonetized and stuff. Every single time I mention anything like that at all, it's getting demonetized. It's really rough right now. So I'm too scared. I'm frightened, guys. I'm scared. I'm scared of what I can and cannot say. New game, exploding discourse. James State says, no, please no. Please no. Never says, try Dungeon Crawl Classics. You'll get the classic D&D fix without all the BS. I play Fantasy Trip. I play a lot of Fantasy Trip whenever I'm looking for that kind of classic vibe. I play a lot of the old original Fantasy Trip. Based on Game Methuselah suggested it. I'm a big fan of Game Methuselah. He's a YouTuber. He is a GM. He's Matt Colville's DM. If you know Matt Colville, Game Methuselah is the guy who DM'd for Matt Colville. And he recommended Fantasy Trip. And on the back of that, I played it because he said it was the kind of progenitor, the one that came out before GURPS. Yeah. Ben says, I feel like some people's brains are predisposed to understand certain RPG systems where it just clicks for them. I think you're probably right. There are some systems that I just get, and there are some systems that I just do not. GURPS I just kind of got. With World of Darkness, I just kind of got. The idea of like you have an attribute, like a core body element, you know, like your strength, your dexterity, and then you've got a skill, and you add your like dex to your firearm skill, and that gives you your dice pool. I feel like that's just like so intuitive to me. I just get it. The progenitor. Yeah, that's it. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. Okay, we've got one of the we're in the running here for one of the better names, guys. Some friends and I self-published a game similar to GURPS at the same time. Jackson released GURPS. Our game crashed hard, mainly because it sucks so hard. I'm very sorry to hear that, your affectionate uncle Screwtape. I'm very sorry to hear that. What game is it? Out of interest, out of curiosity, what game is it? Does it have a Wikipedia page? I'd be interested to hear that. I picked up the Fantasy Trip Kickstarter recently, says Red. Yes, yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I love all the old chits and stuff. Bruce R says the old Avalon Hill Gladiator game, light on mechanics, but fun running a gladiator house. Yeah. Wilford Brimstone says, what's that sci-fi game with the massive galaxy? That would be Traveler. It has the massive galaxy. Absolutely massive. Ghostman Brandon says, then you have the Swedish powerhouse Morkborg, the best incorporation of random rules. I feel like Morkborg is almost I feel like Morkborg did really well for itself because of its art style, right? Its art style is fantastic. It has a really, really evocative art style, has a ton of style, absolutely dripping with style completely. Morkborg is very interesting. For those of you who have not seen it, it has a very, very evocative art. Very, very interesting. It did really well. I haven't played it myself, but I've heard good things. Yeah. There's the 7 Sea Pirate games, yeah. Now we're just knocking out games. Now we're just listing our games. Yeah. All right, guys. All right. We've looked to the past. What are the war games that everyone's excited about? We've talked about Shatterpoint. We've talked about Blood and Plunder. We've talked about Margrave. Actually, I kind of want to talk a little bit more about them. Margrave. What other ones are we all really looking forward to? Upcoming war games. It's getting hard, right? There's so many war games out these days. It feels relentless. It feels absolutely relentless, the number of war games that are constantly coming out. I tell you what, though, I kind of want to check out... some of the War Cradle games. Like Wild West Exodus. I want to check out Wild West Exodus at UKGE, because I never got to play it. And I know there are some people who are big fans of Wild West Exodus. And it has like an actual marketing push behind it as well, which is interesting. Garzini yells, Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin. What's Hobgoblin? To me, it's a beer brand. Is Hobgoblin a game? Because that sounds like a really evocative title. If there is a game called Hobgoblin, I want to check it out. I want to be the goblin, guys. I want to be the goblin. Paranoia RPG, absolutely fantastic, yeah. Plastic says, I'm excited about Malifaux, but it's not upcoming. Malifaux is a game I haven't played yet. There's been a couple of times where I almost started playing it, but I find it's quite a hard game to get into as a new player. There's just no very obvious way to start in the game. And also, having played a bunch of Yafsiga recently from Blackside Studios, I'm worried that I would miss dice, honestly. I do like dice. I like the clitter clatter, the pitter patter, the clink clank of little dice rolling out onto the table with a satisfying clunk, 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 clunk. I do love me some dice, and the flap of a card is not quite enough, because Malifaux, of course, is famously play with a deck of cards. There's no dice rolling. To randomize things, you do draw from a deck. You think Hobgoblin... So you're telling me, Pete, that Hobgoblin is indeed just a drink? That's the kit. Oh my goodness. Hobgoblin is by the creator of Gaslands. Oh, I have heard of this. I have heard of Hobgoblin, yes. That's out, isn't it? Hobgoblin is out. I think, right? It's a large scale game by Matt Hutchinson. Scython, member for 13 months. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. Says, I'm here 2 days. 4 Grimdark Future games. What did I miss? Thank you very much for the membership there. And of course, the memberships, by the way, guys, if you didn't know, memberships, you get some sexy little emojis. And yeah, you get some sexy little emojis and your name colored in as well on the streams. Very lovely. And of course, you support the channel, so thank you very much for that. But thank you for the membership. What did you miss? You've missed them. You've missed a lot, Scython. We've talked about 10th edition, we've talked about 9th edition Warhammer, we've talked about RPGs, we've talked about Critical Role, we've talked about Wizards of the Coast, we've talked about GURPS. There was a lot of talk about GURPS. We kept talking about GURPS. Victory at Sea World War II naval game. Oh, interesting. I'll be honest, I'm not like super into naval games. Blood and Plunder, the pirate one, is one of the few ones that I'm into, just because it's kind of novel. But Victory at Sea is one of the kind of like zoomed out games, isn't it? I'm not the biggest fan of naval games or spaceship games like Armada, like Star Wars Armada, and also I guess Kings of War Armada. I'm not like super into those types of strategies. I don't know why. There's something, I think I just really like infantry, like kind of gameplay, including, you know, medieval style, fantasy, sci-fi, modern day, all of those. By the way, actually, okay, hold on. If anybody knows the creator of Spectre miniatures, he has taken money off of me and has not sent me miniatures, actually. What's going on with that? I ordered miniatures off Spectre. I ordered some miniatures off Spectre miniatures ages ago, and I haven't heard anything back. I just remembered. I just remembered there now. I need to look into that. Hey! I ordered those months ago. Where the hell are they? I'm gonna need to look into that. Guys. I wanted to check out some modern day miniatures, and they haven't arrived. Kyra says, I'm the opposite, really into Navy and spaceship games. I mean, fair enough. I get it, right? I get it. But I'm not even into like super big tank games either, like Flames of War. Or the World of Tanks game, you know? I'm not into those either, which is weird because I loved Command and Conquer when I was younger, and that was the game about medium tank rush, right? Grizzly tank rush, like come on. And I'm just not, yeah. Ed Allen says Gaslands is a hoot. Now that I have a resin printer to make better weapons and add-on bits, I should get back into it. I haven't played Gaslands either. I've heard really fun things about it though, and there is a store near me that does sell a lot of Hot Wheels. So in a lot of, I probably should get on. I probably should check it out. As a hobby project, though, I'm not sure how interested I am in cars, you know? It's just, like, not me, I guess. Like, not super what I'm into. Although, like Pete says, massively intrigued by Gaslands. Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm intrigued by it. MPG says, Grimdark Future, Eclipse Phase has a fair bit of that, depending on the polity setting. Eclipse Phase? What is Eclipse Phase? Ben Puffer says Hobgoblin is a rank and flank miniature agnostic game, Kickstarter, as I understand it. I think I heard about Hobgoblin before, but I did not know that it was an army level game, which interests me. It does interest me. Screwtip says there is an old naval game called Jutland that is wonderful, spiritual predecessor of Starfleet battles. I have heard of Jutland, the game. I mean, I have heard of that. Yeah. Modifius Entertainment are releasing Fallout Nuka World, which appears to be a combat rather than RPG based game. Well, so Modifius did Wasteland Warfare, which was a skirmish based war game. Garzini says, but Discourse, you can have an ice cream van in Gaslands. That does sound pretty cool. Twisted Metal was always really neat. That's something I played when I was younger. Larkbeard says, but think of little people you can spike on the front of the cars. That is true. That is true. Philip says, I've seen some cool simplified home rules to turn Gaslands into a Mario Kart game. Good to interest a younger audience in tabletop gaming. That is pretty neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anthony Holden says, my grandfather fought at Jutland about the HMS Hercules. Very interesting. William Mink says, you can blow up the movement templates for Gaslands and play 28mm. Ooh. Modifius also do the Fallout D20 RPG, says Pete. I'm guessing that Modifius, they have the license for like Skyrim, they have the license for like Fallout, and Skyrim as well has a skirmish game. Warcradle have a Cthulhu-based game that never really super excited me in terms of the aesthetic, but it was interesting miniatures. Warcradle, I'm trying to remember what the game is called. But I can't. Was it Warcradle? There is a Wayland Games sell a lot of it. I can't remember what it's called, but it is a kind of Cthulhu Victorian style game. There's all these different Cthulhu monsters kind of fighting each other, and they've got their own gangs. Oh, it's gonna annoy me. Let me see. I'll know it went Mythos. Mythos, it's called. Mythos is a kind of you're fighting in like Innsmouth kind of times, I guess, like the kind of 1920s. One of my problems with it though is that there is a lot of interesting monsters designed, but there's no like hunter faction. There's no like we're normal guys trying to fight, you know, Cthulhu-esque stuff. It's all Cthulhu monsters, and the closest to like a hunter faction are like time cops, which wasn't really the vibe I wanted out of a kind of Lovecraft out of a Lovecraft game. I didn't really want I didn't really want a time cops. Cthulhu Wars as Nibble Tech. No, although I did see I was in Fanboy 3. I was in Fanboy 3 in Manchester at Warhammer Fest. And I saw they have a ton of Cthulhu Wars stock, and the prices are wild. I know that the miniatures are really big, but I just found them like, whew, wow. Gaslands has tanks, helicopters, and bikes. Wow, that I did not know. That's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So, are you saying that I don't think I'll get the chance to play Gaslands at UKGE? honestly. I'm interested to see who else will be there, because last year I went over with the assumption that I would know everybody that was going to be there, and then I ended up finding all these new games, and so I kind of want to do the same thing again this year. I want to get exposed to loads of new games. I want them all be slapping me in my face. Chris says, Modifius do all sorts, just back their Kickstarter for Homeworld Fleet Command. I'm not sure about the game, but I love the IP too much to miss out. Homeworld, yeah, wow, okay, we're going back a little bit. I've been really excited by a ton of games, but because I've been playing a ton of Warhammer recently. I've been getting into the Astra Militarum, painting those guys up as an urban peacekeeping force, a pacification force, the tyrant's own. I've been painting a bunch of those, and I'm probably actually going to be showing some. It's going to be some hobbying on the channel. I think I will be doing a video on the combat patrols, on taking a combat patrol from 0 to 100, and getting into the combat patrol system for Warhammer, because I think it makes a really nice introduction to wargaming. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But if it does, I'm probably going to do a video based on that. Twin Trouble says, I just came into, I want them to slap me in the face. Oh, you should have been here for when we were talking about the Johnsons, about Lionel Johnson. You should have been here when we were talking about that. Nimble Tech says UKG looks like it's bigger this year, filling up 2 halls for traders and a 3rd for gaming. Wait, there's 2 halls this year? What? No, last year there was 1 hall. Are you telling me that they're gonna have 2 halls at UKG this year? Surely not. Surely that's well too big. That's gonna be way too big. Hey, Amu says, meanwhile, I'm getting into Trader Guardsmen. If I cannot field them for 40k, then Horse Heresy be welcoming. I always wanted to get into Trader Guardsmen, but, you know, obviously they were never supported. I did like the Games Workshop sculpts for the Blooded, or before that, they were in the big spaceship Blackstone Fortress. Although, Wargames Atlantic have got a very interesting kind of Trader Guard miniature line at the minute, which are really cool looking. I recommend. I've bought like the kind of modern sort of sculpts from Games Workshop, and boy, is an expensive proposition to do an infantry guard army based on Games Workshop sculpts. I'd really recommend checking out Wargames Atlantic because they basically give you like 4 or 5 sprues in a single box. You're getting like 30 guys for the price of what you would get, like less than what you would pay 10 for Games Workshop. And the sprues are really good. The option, you get tons of options on them. You get tons of posability, tons of customization. Yeah, I'd really recommend them. Honestly, if you're interested in doing an Imperial Guard army, I'd really recommend them. I'm probably going to be buying some of the Katakan forces from Reptile, who worked with Wargames Atlantic to get hard plastic sprues. And then yeah, Coffee Time Hobby says the Damned range looks amazing. That's the new range, and yeah, it does. It looks really interesting. It looks much better than I think it's being done by Mini Wargaming Dave, right? I think he did the kind of Chaos Space Marines range, which I wasn't really a fan of, but these new Damned look really good. They look really good. Guys in gas masks and like tattered military uniforms is like right up my alley. Right up my alley for what I want in a war game army. Stephen Witham says, I am using Wargame Atlantic Ogres for my all Ogre Imperial Guard army. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I wanted to buy Nork Deadog for, I've built a command squad of guard with power fists very foolishly because I decided to go for a melee guard. And very foolishly, and I built like power fists on my command squad, but I can't find Nork Deadog anywhere. I think I'm gonna have to buy him at full RRP, which is really sad. I'm not buying anything though, because I've been saving up for UKG. I'm like saving up. I've been like counting all the pennies to get over there. So I'm doing that, and if I see Nork at a discount over there, I'll be really excited. As Garzini says, UK Wargaming darling Joseph A. McCullough will be doing an event at UKG. He will. I need to look into all the events that are going down. I didn't know that Joe would be there, honestly. I didn't see anything. It didn't really have like a massive presence at UKG last year. So very interesting. Sworn to Light says the Krieg are such a great aesthetic. They really are. I've always loved them since I first started in Warhammer. I really have loved them. Any love for Anvil Industry, says the Great Wordling. I've never actually bought from them, so I don't have like a personal experience with them. But I've heard good things about Anvil Industry for sure, and I like some of their sculpts definitely. Nork Deadog is part of the Ogren Bulgren kit, says Steven. Oh, is he? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I've never had Ogrens. I've never owned Ogrens. I've never had big boys. I've never had Ratlings neither. Never had little short kings either, which is it's sad, really. It's sad. I had just lots and lots and lots of normal guardsmen. Just lots and lots and lots and lots of just average little guardsmen. So yeah, maybe I'll pick up an Ogren box then. Ooh, maybe. But I'm gonna have to wait for that. I'm gonna have to wait. Only way I'm collecting Krieg is if I get a 3D printer, says Plastic Praetor. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not collecting Krieg. I'm not. When I was at Warhammer Fest, I was really happy. I managed to get a squad of Krieg, which was the only time I was ever able, like, for the first time in my life, I was able to actually buy Krieg, and I was so pleased with it. But I you know, like, it was one squad. I don't think I could ever buy more, and it's hard to justify for that price too, right? Jeff asks which half of the Leviathan box would be worth more. The one that you want, really. I mean, like, talk of value doesn't matter if you don't like the sculpts. Personally, for me, I will probably keep the Tyranid half simply because I don't care about the Space Marines. Although, thinking about it, the Space Marine side would probably get me up. So, do you remember I said I had 2,000 points army of Space Marines? I lied. Oh, I lied. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I lied to you guys. I was dishonest. I had 2,000 points worth of Space Marines when I bought them at the end of last year. Now, I have 1,700 points of Space Marines because a balance patch occurred, and now the points values have dropped to 1,700 points. I lost like 300 points worth of Space Marines in a patch because apparently Space Marines aren't that great. And so I've got like a 300 points to fill. So maybe the Leviathan box, I'm thinking the models in that could fill me up to get me back to 2,000 points. Plus, you get a bunch of flamethrower guys in it. And obviously, I've got a Black Templar force. So that's going to be, you know, it's going to be pretty... The Black Templar force would use flamethrowers. This is my point. It's my point. Red says, I don't see actually being able to get the Leviathan box if they don't make enough. I get the worry. I do genuinely get the worry, considering what's been happening. But I do think that they will produce enough boxes. I don't think that there will be too much of a problem getting your hands on one. Maybe. I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't know ultimately. And I definitely feel the concern, for sure. And it's a little bit worrying, especially because I want to make some content around it, right? So I'm a little bit worried about getting it. And obviously, Games Workshop never responded to my emails where I asked them whether or not they would send out a review copy. I don't know. I don't think they're interested in sending me out a review copy so that I can compare Leviathan against the Blood and Plunder starter set, or the Conquest starter set, or the Game of Thrones starter sets, or any of the Mantic starter sets, or, yeah, you know, you get the picture. I don't think they're interested in me kind of reviewing it like that, so, yeah, they never sent out anything at all. So I'm a little bit worried about getting the box myself, because I do want to review it when it's relevant. However, that said, I do think they probably have made enough. Because there's just... They know there's a huge amount of demand for it, and I do know that they have been producing more of the boxes than they've produced of any other box before. And boy, if it's more than the Dominion box set, they were producing a lot of Dominion. Like, I there is a store in my local town. There's still Dominion boxes in there. I can go right now and I can buy that Dominion box if I wanted. It's at full RRP price, which is why it's never shifted in the last 4 years, because it's not worth that price at all. But there we are, yeah. Hey, Amu says, speaking of Abhumans, now that I think about it, Beastman Guardsmen would look fantastic. They sure would, wouldn't they? Well, there was Beastman, but they weren't released, right? I refuse to kind of acknowledge It's really hard. Games Workshop like release stuff and then they sell it to like the 5 guys who can get the box, and then you never see it again, and everyone's like, well, there you go. It's released. And I'm like, I don't like it in a bundle. And they go, well, it comes out separately. And then I ask when, and then it's just kind of crickets. Just crickets kind of happen. To the extent where I'm not even interested in any of the new box sets from Games Workshop right now, because like I just can't get them. Hellcat says, Wargame Atlantic makes plastic World War 1/2 French and plastic Panzerler, which is great. I wish Warlord made plastic French, although I found Etsy Model Maker has a whole line of them at great price. I kind of wish that I wish they made the World War 1 British. Honestly, I had a hobby project that I was going to use World War 1 British for, but they haven't released them yet, so I'm waiting for them. Winston says, I hope production is going to be enough. I'm looking at picking up 2 Leviathan boxes. Why 2? Why 2? Why 2? Jeff says, is it a fool's errand to try and buy Leviathan from a discount sword, MSRP or bust? I don't know, Jeff. And if I were a cynical person, which I am not a cynical person, I would say that perhaps a lot of this confusion in the marketplace does benefit Games Workshop because people are more inclined to buy directly from them rather than third-party stores. I mean, certainly I know, like, there's no point in even trying to buy from, like, Wayland Games, for example, or from Element Games, or from any other third-party store, like Goblin Games, or even your local store. If, you know, there's no point trying to buy from those because you're not going to get the box. You have to buy directly from Games Workshop, which means the money goes straight to them, and they really, 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 really want all of the money going directly to them and not going to any of your local trade stores. So I don't know about the Leviathan box, honestly. I do feel like they're going to have to reassure people before the box is like, they're going to have to do like at least a Warhammer community post reassuring people. For sure, 100%. The Great Worldling says, I'm still upset about the Faith and Ashes box. It looks so cool. It did. I asked my local store to try and reserve it for me, but I'm not sure whether or not they ever did. Sam, I have to check. I asked them to like ping me to let me know whenever it came in, but I haven't heard anything since. So, alas. Buying from friendly local game store or skip, says Philippe. Oh, fair. I mean, it's going to be me too. It's right. Okay. So I've talked about this in videos, obviously. But the entire pre-order culture with Warhammer specifically is absolutely busted. The pre-order culture is absolutely broken. Warhammer is broken. There you go. There's the title of the next video. Warhammer is broken right now. The idea that the pre-order system should be some sort of mass scrum to try and push your way through the front doors of the Target store first. That's the pre-order system. No, the pre-order system should be a register of interest. I will purchase this. What happened? When did this change? When did things go from pre-order simply being, I will order this box set from you, will you please hold it for me? And then the store saying, yes, I will hold it for you. Bada bing, bada boom. You get your game whenever it's done. When did it change from that? They started using the term made to order, which everyone was super happy about, myself included, but really made to order was pre-order, right? Like made to order is what the basic pre-order system should be. It's fundamentally, this is a major problem right now in the game. And even if all of the problems, all of the pre-order problems are being caused right now by Games Workshop, say, overproducing Leviathan and half the factory is being used for Leviathan, and then things will get back to normal afterwards. There was still pre-order issues as well before them. This is like a fundamentally broken system. This idea of you know, there's 5 boxes and the first person in the door gets them. It's just absolutely absurd. Like, it's not a pre-order at that stage. Now you're just buying it. It just doesn't get delivered to you until 2 weeks later. It's not a pre-order, right? You're just ordering it. And yes, I agree. I thought that the Faith and Ashes box looked cool too. I thought so too. All right, guys, I'm gonna be creeping towards the exit here. We still, we got like 15, 20 minutes left, but I'm just letting you know I'm creeping towards the exit here because I recorded a full video today, which included a couple of costume changes. A couple of them, and I even filmed. On top of that, not including the costume change, not including the costume change, I even recorded a skit. Oh my god, a skit. The skits are back, maybe. this time. But there's a skit in this video. So I've been doing a lot. I've been really busy today. And then I was writing my review for Warhammer 9th Edition for patrons. So I was writing that as well. Garcini says, Luddite, just ask Discourse about GURPS. I'm sure she won't mind recapping. Yep. Where am I going, J-Jax? I am going to the UK Games Expo, the biggest wargaming convention. Mostly, it's the biggest because it's not only war games, it's board games and role-playing games as well. Arguably, Salute would be the only pure wargaming convention, but there's more war games there, I think. So it's the biggest convention in the UK for like games, basically, and that's where I'm going. I'm really excited. I'm really nervous. I'm really looking forward to it, but I'm going away. I'm saying goodbye to you for this next week. And videos might be a little bit sparse. I might actually end up missing a video or two. So I'm explaining, I'm doing a mea culpa. I'm explaining myself right now. I'm explaining myself to you. Hellcat of What's the Too Long Didn't Read of 9th Edition. 9th Edition is a card game where you have to build your engine, except you don't actually have to draw any cards from your deck. You start with them on the board, and then you have to see whose engine is better than the other person's engine, and you flip a coin to see who gets to check that first. And that gives them a massive advantage over the other person. Too Long Didn't Read. That's what 9th Edition is. Alternative metaphor is it is Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, but competitive. And also you're encouraged to power game and optimize against one another. And there's 1,000 different books with different synergies in it. There you go. That's the Too Long Didn't Read Warhammer 9th Edition. Scython, thank you very much for the donation. Thank you very much. Now a proper super chat. Hope you are better now. Ever heard of first in, first out? Just protocol the incoming orders and work through the list of games workshop. Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. I am a lot better. Yes, but over the weekend I was a little bit ill, a little bit sickly, guys. I am feeling a lot better today. So thank you very much. That's very kind. And thank you very much for the donation as well, Scython. Yeah. Protocol the incoming orders, yeah. Red says, looking forward to the 9th Edition review. Yeah, it'll be coming out at the beginning of next week. And Luna says, the old GW pre-order shenanigans. I've never pre-ordered anything ever. I'll buy stuff when it's out. The problem is Warhammer, you can't do that, Luna. Because there's so much stuff that's like a one-shot. It's a one-shot box. So if you want to get the box, you have to pre-order it. Otherwise, you'll just never be able. I agree with you. I don't think that we should ever be pre-ordering. Right? I think that we should be buying things when they come out. The problem is that you just, if you're somebody who wants to get a good value bundle, for example, you have to pre-order. You have to pre-order. You don't have the option, you know, you just miss it otherwise. Tokyo Mio says, hey, thanks for the content. Keep it up. And I think you're really cool. Well, thank you very much. It's the first time I've ever been called cool. Thank you very much, Mio. I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Luddite says, you're off to the expo. Excellent. You'll have a blast. Expo is awesome. I'm really looking forward to it, Luddite. I really am looking forward to it. Cleo says, thanks for the stream today. Thanks for the GURPS Talk Nostalgia. Have a great expo. Bring us back some gifts. I shall be going over there. I shall be spending my hard-earned money, and I will be buying lots of war games, or at least fun war games. The good war games. I'll be buying good war games, and I will bring them back, and I will be doing this. I'll be showing them to you in a video. I'll be talking about the best ones, what's really good. I'm really glad you guys have enjoyed the stream. Hey there, George. George says, sorry I'm late. Hello, George. Goodbye, George. Luddite says that I'll miss it. I'm immune to FOMO. I am not immune to FOMO at all. I think most people aren't immune to FOMO. I think most people feel, at least to some extent, they feel FOMO, right? I feel like most people feel FOMO, and like some people are hit by it really hard. Some people get hit by it really, really hard. Dab says, so Disco spent her day preparing her outfit for a night of Ireland's greatest discos. You should visit and experience one for yourself. Have fun all and roll well. And then he does the snake eyes. The rules you do not want to see ever. I was planning on talking about the 10th edition faction focuses today, but I guess we didn't really have time, and my voice is starting to give out. It's starting to give out. George says he picked up that Ashes of Faith. I really wanted it too. The Ashes of Faith box was like the box that I always wanted, you know, the Inquisitors versus Chaos. It's the box I always wanted. Paul says, is it anything? I just got here. Well, that's my timing. Sorry, Paul. Sorry. FOMO is an incredibly hard habit to break. In fact, I don't think it's really hard to like break it all, you know? I feel like managing FOMO is the way to think about it for sure. It's a constant struggle with Games Workshop's marketing department. It's a battle. Like, it is a real battle. Plastic says, Plastic Predator says, I still get FOMO for 40k boxes with zero desire to play the game. Yeah, like, me too. Me too. I feel like, and this is like one of the big main strengths of 40k, that you feel like there's a lot to think about and a lot of desire to play the game, for sure. I feel like there's a big meta game around 40k. It's a very enthralling. It's like a siren call, calling you to play it some more. And then you get on the table and you're like, I'm not having fun. What's going on? Whew. Wait, hold on. Lockbeard says, a shout out to Jordy Calgar that tattooed base sizes on his hands for reference. No. No. Wow. Incredible. Incredible. I love it. Well, guys, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your support today. Thanks for the donations, for going off to UKGE. I really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's been a real pleasure, as always. I'm hoping to redo the streams were a little bit more disparate there for a while. I'm hoping to get back into the swing of things. You know, we talk about the news in wargaming. Hoping to talk about it again. And yeah, it's been a real joy. So I will not see you next week, but I'll see you the week after, hopefully. And I will catch you all. I hope you have a great week, rest of your weekend, and a great next week. And stay safe. I'll catch y'all next time, guys. Bye-bye. Fare thee well. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I have to keep going. I have to keep going for ages, you see, because I don't want to cut myself off. I don't want to cut myself off, so I gotta wait. I just gotta wait. Have a safe trip. Thank you, everybody. And as always, if anybody is at UKG, please feel free to come up and say hello. I would love to meet you guys. Thank you. And yeah, so if you're at UKG, let me know, and I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.